This story, the Commission of Inquiry into the Marshalltown fire started its work today. It's been almost 3 months since nearly 80 people lost their lives in the blaze at a hijacked building downtown Johannesburg. My colleague, our senior reporter Aviwe Mtila, was covering this story for us. He's back now, just joining us just to tell us what happened. Aviwe, good afternoon. Welcome back. Yeah, it's about time. And I mean, this is a commission of inquiry that was set up, I guess, by the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, afterwards, and they've started very quickly. Hopefully they'll also conclude very quickly. I mean, 78 people died in that fight. What stood out from what came out in today's hearings? You were there. What are the main things in your view that stood out?
Bradan, day one started with the account from the acting chief of the emergency services, basically detailing what he was met with when he arrived at the Usindiso building in Marshalltown. It's quite harrowing. It's quite clear that there was no compliance whatsoever. And just from the glaring accounts that he mentioned there, it was destined to happen. There was a disaster waiting to happen. For example, there's only one door for people in the entire building to go in and out. That alone poses a health hazard. And then there's also an emergency door which was locked, chained, Bradan, so people couldn't use that emergency exit that allows them to go outside. But if you are to look at the emergency exits that are within the different floors of the building, you'll find out that now they're no longer emergency exits. It's either they are now storages or they themselves have been turned into homes and rooms that now people occupy. Even the stairways, Bradan, where you'd expect people to be able to move from one floor to the next, are now were turned into places where people were residing instead of actually them being stairways. You go into what's supposed to be the individual rooms, Bradan, you'll find out how broken down into numerous rooms to accommodate many people. It was clear that the tenants were out for a quick buck and turning them, well, actually dividing them by wooden, dividers.
The landlords were dividing the tenants with cardboard stuff to get more people in.
Obviously easily flammable, Bradan. If you are to ask what's happening on the ground floor itself, you'll find out that 70 by 70 meter area was housing squatter camps and shacks, essentially, where at least 200 people resided. And during this fire, all of that area was locked. So it was a real health hazard, Bradan, that was waiting to happen. In fact, some of what we found out from the acting chief of the emergency services, Rapulana Monacheng. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Commissioner, there's a picture whereby it was mind-boggling to realize that members even took a bathroom and converted it to a living room.
And what would have been the case in relation to the use of that bathroom, now converted bedroom?
Worst of it, Commissioner, when you look at the bathrooms, they don't have normal opening windows. Meaning that should a fire start in that bathroom or something happens in the bathroom, the smoke traveling patterns becomes a problem. That means smoke cannot evacuate out of the building so easily because people already built something. Literally, bathrooms add more fire load into the building. They were not supposed to have so much fire load. It now exacerbates even the problem further. Not only doing that, some petition rooms, they were as small as 2.5 by 2.5 meters, and also demarcated using material which is substandard and without any proper ventilation. And this now talks to the issue of the pattern of the smoke and the heat, how it travels. Now, if you block emergency routes, you are saying to us, I'm blocking off the movement, the normal route of the smoke to travel in this building. Henceforth, I said to yourselves earlier on the 4th floor, you could see most of the smoke damage.
You build a room inside an evacuation room. An evacuation room is for emergencies. You lock an emergency door. It's unbelievable. Actually, thinking about it, it's literally by God's grace that not more than 78 people died. I just wonder what the emergency services saw when they first arrived at the scene.
It certainly is by God's grace, Bradan, because even the rooms themselves, never mind the emergency exits that were locked, we hear that the majority of the rooms themselves that were actually now divided into more rooms were locked themselves. The corridors only allowed for a single file. It was difficult to get two people passing in those corridors. That's how narrowed down they were, because they were trying to house more people. Now, if you ask Lucas Tipe, who was one of the first respondents with his platoon going into the scene, he'll tell you that they got there while the fire was still raging. The panic from some of the people, he describes one of the mothers of a 2-year-old that was actually asking for the fire extinguishers to go in herself, because her 2-year-old baby was still in the flames by then, and while the fire was still raging on. And he describes what he was met with, the piling up of the bodies. But then let's listen to Lucas Tipe explain what he was met with there.
The behavior of the fire was abnormal to our assessment. The flames was too violent and they were coming through the windows. So we had to try to control the fire from outside before entering. Whilst we were busy trying to gain entry, the lady came to me. She was screaming. She said, "Can she have my tank?" Because she wanted to go through into the building she had a baby inside. She said the baby was 2 years of age. She wanted to go inside to go and rescue the baby. So I asked the lady, "Where's the baby at?" She showed me on the side, on Delver Street, I think the second window. She pointed and she said the baby was in there. So I called the team. I sent them through with a fire attack line to try to extinguish the fire, to go through to that room and try to search in that room to find the baby. Upon entry, they shortly came back. They said the flames was too much. There was too much smoke. The visibility was compromised. And on top of that, on the stairs as they entered, they saw a heap of bodies, about 4 bodies that they saw.
Yeah, really horrific stuff that's coming out. So what's happening next? That was Lucas Tipe, one of the first respondents, emergency respondents with his platoon there, the building at the time.
So he was actually starting his testimony at around 4 o'clock this afternoon when the commission itself had to wrap up. He's going to be continuing tomorrow, and then we're expecting then the commission to complete its work within the next 6 months. It's broken up into 2 parts. The first is what we are going through now, brother, and where they're looking at the circumstances around the fire and what could have caused it, and just the state of the building itself. The second part will look at the prevalence of these sort of hijacked buildings, the buildings that get left or abandoned by the illegal owners and then are taken over by the criminal syndicates, then allow what we now come to know of just how minimal human life is, basically. So that's the second aspect that the commission itself will be looking at, and it's expected to complete its work within 6 months.
Thank you very much, Aviwe Mtila, for that update there from that Commission of Inquiry into the Marshalltown fire, which will resume tomorrow. More news.